Hello everyone, I am Idona John Baptist with the Channel 5 News. In the headlines, opposition claims victory as Parliament postpones second and third readings of anti-terrorism bill. The Ministry of Education invests in more tertiary level training for teachers, and Labour women encouraged to play their part in realizing the dream of a climate resilient nation. The details of the news after this.
Rudolph Thomas Enterprise in Portsmouth, your suppliers of building materials and hardware products. Over 20 years experience in the business. Rudolph Thomas has lumber and plywood, galvanized and fence pipe. Check out Rudolph Thomas for ceramic and vinyl floor and wall tiles, nails, nuts and bolts, paint and painting supplies. And check out their line of electrical and hand tools. Go now to Rudolph Thomas on 1240 Bay Street in Portsmouth.
Welcome back. First up, civil society has until July 15 to offer recommendations on a suspended proposed anti-terrorism bill. Government agreed to suspend passing of the anti-terrorism bill when Parliament convened on Monday in the face of a letter from the Association of Evangelical Churches and opposition protest. The newly proposed bill was expected to be read 3 times prior to being debated by both sides before being passed. However, National Security Minister Reuben Blackmore, early on in the session, requested that the bill be read once, causing the Speaker of the House to announce that amendment to the order paper. The motion by Mr. Blackmore was seconded by the Leader of the Opposition. Blackmore told Channel 5 News the move came as part of adherence to democracy.
I believe, and we believe in the government, that it makes sense to allow an opportunity whereby various stakeholders from the public, civil society, the churches, let's name it, the legal fraternity, can further scrutinize the proposed act and bring forth recommendations that they feel are important and could actually add value to this bill. And because we live in a democracy, and of course people have a right, but at the same time, anybody who condemns this proposed act is in effect giving support to ISIS groups, giving support to extremist groups.
Last week, the opposition raised concerns about a section in the bill which it believed would threaten freedom of democratic expression. Asked how the act will address the conduct of protests and demonstrations, Blackmore clarified that the existing Public Order Act already defines those activities.
It cannot be right for persons to flow any weapon, be it a bomb or commit any act that will seek to cause mass casualties. That is different and distinct from protesting. So, if you take a bomb and you throw it into a crowd, or you throw it into a public building, you throw it on a bus, the intention, therefore, is to cause serious mass casualty or collateral damage. So, there's no sameness, really and truly, insofar as somebody's right to demonstrate and somebody's right to commit or not to commit a terrorist act. So, if you do not intend to be a terrorist, you should not be unnecessarily concerned about a bill that seeks to make it an offense or create offenses for certain criminal acts.
He has asked the opposition and other groups with reservations about the proposed legislation to scrutinize it properly.
I believe that the churches, the legal fraternity, other civil society, and all the relevant stakeholders need to look at the bill, need to send a recommendation, and the recommendations should be sent to the Aegis Chambers no later than the 15th of July 2018.
The Prime Minister was absent from parliamentary proceedings since he was out of state. In related news, the parliamentary opposition is claiming victory on adjournment of the anti-terror laws on the basis of a protest organized by the Citizens Forum for Good Governance. The activity drew increased police presence around Parliament Building and Victoria Street. High Street was closed to traffic.
The news from Parliament is that our objective as far as we concerned has been met. So we can now claim a victory for Dominica.
Member of Parliament for Roseau North on the opposition side says their request to government has been fulfilled.
When people stand for themselves, you get results. We do not have 20,000 people here, but we do not need 20,000 people to stand in a population of 40,000 people. And what we have here is that the people's power is resulting in change in the Parliament. What we had is that Minister Blackmore, he rose and he said that the second reading and the third reading is postponed. That's what we are asking for, so that the people can be educated on the bill. Danny Luge will never stand for this bill under this current government. Why? If we can be arrested without these pieces of legislation, imagine what will happen with these pieces of legislation.
Luge says the fear is that government will use such a law to punish the opposition, as he says it has been done in cases of past protests.
Thompson Fountain was arrested. Joseph Isaac, who wines and dines with them, was arrested. Dr. Sam Christian was arrested. It means that right now they're looking for extra ammunition to deal with us. It's not that in principle we disagree with the legislation, but what we are saying, in the hands of this current government, you weaponizing the whole question of terrorism, and we were dragged to the courts before, as I said earlier. So with that extra ammunition, I believe I do not trust this government, and with that extra ammunition, I believe it will spell 25 years in jail.
In other major developments, the guest speaker at the Labour Women's Symposium at the weekend has appealed to Dominica women to work with Prime Minister Skerrit to advance efforts to make the country the first climate-resilient nation in the world.
Elizabeth Thompson herself, an environment policy consultant, delivered a speech that many might call motivational, a call to action for the women of Dominica to take their place in the rebuilding process, the most difficult task a country can face.
You are not here by accident. The passage that you heard today did not come by accident. It has not come gratuitously. It is fortuitous. It is to tell you that as women, you have a role that this Labour Party values. It is to tell you that you have a place that this Labour Party values. It is to tell you that you and your children have a future that this Prime Minister values. For many of us, our image of the hurricane was the Facebook, the WhatsApp messages coming from the people of Dominica, showing their stories, sharing with us what was happening on the ground, feeling your pain and your powerlessness through those moving images that the technology allowed you to share. But for us who live outside of Dominica, our understanding and image of what was happening here was a man called Roosevelt Skerrit. Who, dealing with the elements himself, was still giving leadership to a country even in the midst of crisis. There are two leaders I have seen cry. One is Barack Obama. The second is Roosevelt Skerrit. And really, the tears were not tears of weakness, but tears of empathy. Tears that said, I feel my country's pain. And And in the midst of crisis, leaders have options. They walk away and say, this is not for me. They wilt because they are not equal to the task. Or they rise like Roosevelt.
Thompson told the women's gathering while the task ahead is not going to be easy, they must hold fast and help make this dream of a climate-resilient country a reality.
Rebuilding, restructuring, reframing, revisioning is not easy. It is easy to get up doing what you are accustomed doing. It is easy to lay down and say, Lord, things so bad I cannot bother to get up from where I am. What your Prime Minister is asking you to do, not just to build back, but to renew and redefine, is in fact the most difficult task that a country can embrace. You do not grow by remaining where you are. You do not grow without lifting some heavy weights. You do not grow unless you know how to deal with burden and challenge and struggle and adversity. You do not grow in the good times. You grow when things get rough. You grow when you are uncertain of what next you can do. You grow when you accept that there is something to be done and you are the person who has to do it.
She says years after Hurricane Sandy, America is still rebuilding and therefore Dominicans should not be discouraged as they rebuild their country. She believes a lot has been achieved in Dominica since Hurricane Maria.
You have accomplished so much more. So much more. You had the rivers and the hills and the rocks and the collapse of a society. But you know what y'all have done here that is most remarkable to me? And I say to you as somebody who does motivational speaking, Prime Minister, you have rebuilt the spirit of the people of Dominica.
In other news, the Ministry of Education will soon see an increase in the number of trained teachers taking to the classroom.
This as the ministry continues to facilitate the acquisition of professional qualifications under the Dominica Education Enhancement Project. Recently, 24 principals and senior teachers graduated from the University of the West Indies with Masters of Science degrees in Educational Leadership and Management. Another cohort of teachers is currently pursuing further education and training at the Dominica State College.
We presently have 28 teachers from secondary schools enrolled in a diploma in education program at the Dominica State College. These are teachers who already have a bachelor's degree in a subject area but needed to be trained as teachers.
Secondary school teachers who are involved in the technical vocational subjects are also being trained under the Education Enhancement Project.
Also, presently, 23 of our teachers who teach technical vocational subjects, particularly to students seeking to acquire Caribbean Vocational Qualification (CVQ) awards, are working towards their certification as assessors, an important role in the CVQ process.
As part of its quest to continue the skill development of teachers, a recently concluded Training of Trainers workshop will see the implementation of a professional development program at the national and school-based levels over the next 2 years.
Coming up on the Channel 5 News, sanitizing the public assistance list. Stay with us.
M&J Covering is the producer of Designed Galvanized and Galvalume in Dominica. They design to your specifications, color and length, 4 styles of galvanized and galvalume pre-painted roofing sheets as requested, and supply all your galvalume accessories. M&J Covering helps you control spending and reduce waste. At M&J Covering, they are also equipped to build your roof to precise standards anywhere on island. So come to M&J Covering at 1 Mile in Portsmouth or call 445-5001 275-5003 today.
Thanks for staying tuned. The National Cooperative Credit Union's annual report for 2017 shows the organization has remained strong despite the ravages of Hurricane Maria.
The credit union was on course to celebrate its biggest year since amalgamation in 2010 when Hurricane Maria struck. The hurricane slowed growth in the loans portfolio, but total assets grew over that of the previous year by over $69 million. Increase in membership savings led to a total increase in assets to $588 million compared to $518 million the previous year, an increase of $69 million. Membership also grew by 2,853. That's from over 43,000 the previous year to over 46,000 in 2017. The main contributing factor was the transfer of 1,473 members from the Southeast Cooperative Credit Union. Member share capital grew by 13.72% or $620,000. That's a shift from $4,520,000 to $5,140,000. The credit union approved over 6,000 loans, a decline of over 2,600 or 29% below the corresponding period's total of 9,000 loans. The total value of the loans approved during the period under review was $66 million. 78 million were approved for the previous year. The 15% drop is due to the effects of Hurricane Maria. The National Cooperative Credit Union Limited will hold its 8th annual general meeting on Thursday under the theme Building Resilience, Our Members, Our Priority.
Prime Minister Skerrit has reiterated why he believes Dominica has attracted the world's support post-Hurricane Maria.
Here is the Prime Minister speaking at the Labour Women's Conference on the weekend.
I said to you, as I've said to you before, and every time I say this to Dominicans, they look confused. I said to you that the world is not helping us now because the hurricane hit us. Understand what I'm telling you? The world is not helping us because Dominica was hit by a hurricane. The world is helping us because they are captivated by our vision to create the world's first climate resilient nation. And they want to play their part in assisting a small country that has big ambitions and a huge dream to realizing it. And therefore, it is left to us as citizens of Dominica, as residents of Dominica, to play our part in building this resilient nation.
Mr. Skerrit reminded the crowd that while it may take longer to build a sustainable and more resilient nation, it will redound to the country's benefit in the long run.
We have to pursue that agenda. In terms of our construction of our homes, there cannot be no shortcuts. In terms of the infrastructure, in terms of sustainable livelihoods, in terms of our social safety nets, we have to review all of this to ensure that they are more robust, they are more nimble, and they're able to withstand catastrophic events. And you, the women of Dominica, will need to play a very critical role in that process. And therefore, it's important for us to go back to the communities, to our villages, to our constituencies. Do not, when you live here, WhatsApp each other and say how great today was. I want you to go out and be disciples, to mobilize the people, to organize them, to impart knowledge and experiences, so that we have a more informed society and a society that is better able to make a contribution to national development.
And the Welfare Division has embarked on a mission to sanitize its public assistance list. Andrea Louis has that story.
The public assistance list exists to provide help to people who cannot take care of themselves, such as the elderly and disabled, and those who have no means to support their young children. Following Hurricane Maria last year, a joint emergency cash transfer program was launched by the World Food Programme, UNICEF, and the Ministry of Social Services to provide assistance to those in need. During the execution of this cash transfer, which utilized the government's already existing public support program, some discrepancies were noticed with the disbursement of funds. Acting Chief Welfare Officer Leroy Morvan says the Welfare Division has started to clean up the list.
The Welfare Division is right now on a drive. What we're doing is we are sanitizing the public assistance list because, as you know, island-wide, a lot of persons who, before the hurricane, they were unable to assist themselves, so they were given public assistance, and some of them have been on the list for a very, very long time. And you know, we have to be doing periodic reviews, but just because we have only 4 field officers, so the reviews they kind of slow, and we cannot do it on time. So a lot of persons who would have been off the list still continue to receive the assistance, and those persons also they benefit from the cash transfer grant from UNICEF.
Morvan says the division is met with challenges in carrying out the list sanitation project.
The entire division, when we do reviews, the officers who do not normally go on the field, we also go on the field and assist in reviews as well. But that would mean extra mileage, and you know, there is a certain limit that we can travel in any 1 month in terms of mileage, so sometimes we would have to go beyond that. Apart from that, we also have challenges because we have children who are chances and Operation Youthquake, and especially for chances, those children, they need to be placed in, some of them need to be placed in foster care because in some instances they cannot be returned to their homes because of the reason why they were moved from the homes, and we have challenges in getting foster parents to come on board to accept these children as part of the family.
To date, there are over 2,500 names on the list, but this number is currently fluctuating as the sanitation exercise continues.
With the reviews now, I cannot give you the exact figure because it keeps diminishing, as well as persons are being added onto the list, you know. So as we do reviews, and some people get off the list because they no longer fit in the criteria, they have become self-sustainable. All the children are adults, are working. Some of the people themselves, the parents, they become self-employed. A lot of them get employment under the NEP. So because of that, they discontinued. And then we have persons like who would normally, when we do the investigations, make recommendations, and it's just waiting, pending, you know, that if somebody gets off the list, then that person gets on.
The Welfare Division is expected to complete its review of the public assistance list by August. Andrea Louis, Channel 5 News.
To end the news, the headlines again. Opposition claims victory as Parliament postpones second and third readings of anti-terrorism bill. The Ministry of Education invests in more tertiary level training for teachers, and Labour women encouraged to play their part in realizing the dream of a climate-resilient nation. Feel free to contact us at news@marpin2k4.com. You can also access our past newscasts on our YouTube channel. On behalf of the entire production team, I am Idona John Baptist. Thanks for watching. Join us again tomorrow.